First question is, tell us about your employment history and professional qualifications. How have they prepared you to meet the challenge of serving as city administrator for the city of Lathrop Village? And is there anything you would like to tell us about your qualifications that you have not already sent us?
So thank you for the question. First, I would like to address the city of Lathrop Village. My name is W.Debardelaben. And to go a little bit in deep, I'm a management professional with strong knowledge of public administration, economic and community development, and understanding of teamwork, and consensus building with business communities and concrete public and private network. I am passionate about serving communities through visionary leadership such as council that pivots upon collaboration, partnership, and outreach. I view myself as a highly motivated, self-driven, with a strong commitment to excellence. I am a native of Saginaw, Michigan. While in Saginaw, I served as the executive administrator, deputy general manager for the Saginaw Transit Authority Regional Services. Among my numerous leadership responsibilities, I worked on economic development projects. My work on behalf of the agency included development of a transportation enhancement project, which resulted in more than 3.8 million in grant awards. While on the executive team there, I shifted the agency's hiring practice to focus on recruiting military veterans, such as mechanics, bus drivers, professional staff members. I hold, excuse me, a Master's of Business Administration and Organizational Leadership from the University of Michigan. I furthermore acquired public policy analysis expertise while pursuing my Master's in Science Administration and Public Administration from Central Michigan University while working in relevant public policy positions. And I received my Bachelor's of Science in Economics from Western Michigan University. I am accomplished, as I indicated, as a management professional. I have a combination of public-private sector experience. That includes also working with nonprofit and small business enterprises. So in totality, I roughly have 14 plus years of responsibility in local, state, regional, and federal government. And of those 14, 10 of those years serving in management capacity. I can speak a little bit in terms of my last position serving as township manager for the Charter Township of Royal Oak. In that position, I served as the township manager, the chief administrative officer. I worked with the board of trustees, collaborated with residents, business, and those who wanted to do business within the township. One of the greatest outcomes that we actually shared as a governing body, was to have approved our master plan, which has not been a master plan approved since 2002. It was approved by the county and also approved by the state. In that, working alongside with Oakland County increased the CDBG funding for the township from $12.5 thousand to $35,000 annually. That directly started going towards park and recreation assistance, sidewalk refurbishing, driveway refurbishing, and the likes. So these are some of the things that I could bring to bear in terms of who I am, some of the experience in terms of what I have done, and things that I'm also looking to be a great partner with the city of Lathrop Village.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what is your philosophy regarding community engagement, involving residents in the decision-making process and keeping residents informed regarding critical issues related to the community? If you could provide examples of how your philosophy is implemented within your most recent position, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the question. And so my philosophy and my leadership style is one that embraces openness and transparency. I believe that to have respectful dialogue bridges the formation of integrity from both sides, from both the government side and also the resident side. It's a collaboration with council as a whole. It's a shared vision concept that we move together and that we share with our residents. What's the ideal, what the dollar amount can actually suggest for us to do, and how we can stay within those particular dollars and cents.
Okay, different people respond to information in different ways. Describe a specific situation that required you to communicate with a diverse group. How were they diverse, and how did you adapt the information to the needs of those individuals?
Again, thank you for the question. So how they were diverse in those thoughts. So another side of my leadership philosophy is have appreciation for diversity of thought. That means that I accept ideals, information from all gender, all nationalities, and we actually figure out what will work on the behalf of the city. I served as a DEI coach for mentees, and those were individuals that has graduated from college, some with their bachelor's, some with their graduate degree, and assisting them in the framework of working within the new concept, well, I shouldn't say new concept, but the concept of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion concept. So, and I'm currently getting my certification from U of M Rackham School for the DEI program. And so diversity is something that is critical. I value information. I value in terms of sharing and receiving information from all parties. Inclusion and collaboration is a pinnacle in terms of who I am and what I'm going to like to bring to the discussion.
Okay, and I have a follow-up. Describe a situation where you failed to communicate appropriately to a group. What did you do wrong, and what corrective action did you take to prevent future occurrences?
Okay, so there was a position that I served as partnership specialist for United States Census. So we have two different factions. We have elected officials, and then we have administrators. So the elected officials wanted to speak on all matters, while the appointed, i.e. city managers, township managers, chief administrative, wanted to direct the day-to-day operation. So I had to figure out how to separate the two. So in the interim, there was some communication flaws that I actually shared with my regional counterparts, and what they recommended is that we actually separate the two powers and identify that the elected officials will actually speak on the changes, but the appointed individuals will actually work with the day-to-day operational flow, meaning the census takers, the regional managers, and et cetera, on the day-to-day responsibility. And so in essence, when we had the flaw in communication, it was bumping heads in terms of who is gleaning what amount of information to the citizens or the residents of that community. And with the assistance, as I alluded to, with the regional director, we came to a consensus and the acceptance with separating the two entities and allow them to have power based upon elected officials. You will speak to the media, you will speak to electronic, which is news outlets, and we will have the appointed position folks to actually handle the day-to-day operation. And you can convey whatever information from your point of being elected officials through those city managers, township managers, chief administrative officers. So it was a learned process that we had to get our whole arm around in terms of what would be effective moving forward. And I started off with 7 counties in the state of Michigan, and I finished up with 15.
Thank you.
Can you share an example of a decision you made upholding policy or regulation that you knew would be unpopular with your superiors in the organization? Describe the decision you had to make and what you had to do to prepare for any fallout.
Yes. So in my previous position, our Parks and Recreation facility is a cherished historical landmark. And we had leadership that actually wanted to allow it to decay and to be demolished. However, the citizenry and some leadership on the Board of Trustees want to preserve that particular site as a historical site. In that position, at that particular time, we did a focus group with the community. The community indicated that they wanted to preserve, and so we looked to turn it into a historical document, working with DENR, with the state of Michigan, to see if it qualified. And realizing that it would qualify as a historical landmark. So at that particular time, we turned all that information over to the full council so that they can actually know that the citizens or the residents of this particular community would like to preserve this facility. And so the hardship was a backlash towards me as a city manager, accepting the pushback from the council, even though the residents and some members of the council still wanted to preserve this historical document. Long story short, the community indicated that if we would have tore down this particular piece, we don't have anything in its replacement. And that's something part of the master plan was speaking to in terms of a rebuild. And so putting all this together and sharing it with the council, we eventually decided to actually fund the Parks and Recreation. I actually had to balance the books for the Park and Recreation to show that over 3 years that they can actually stand alone and actually move forward on their own. And I'm pleased to share that out of that crisis, out of that dilemma, the Parks and Recreation facility is still in existence. It is preserved as a historical landmark, and moving forward, now they're looking for grant dollars to sustain it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please provide an example of one specific challenge you faced in the creation of a city budget. What did you do and what were the results of your action?
Okay, well, we just pretty much harped upon the Parks and Recreation. We can just stay there. Park and Recreation, when I came on board, was in the red. They was actually at a point of being de facto defunct. And so what I did immediately is work with my collaboration team, which composed of my finance director, the treasurer, and in addition, one member of the community resident. And so what we did is we identified service areas that we can provide and some areas that we have to look at in terms of redlining, meaning completely eliminating. I'm pleased to share that we had a successful budget that we actually shared with the board in terms of the 3-year outlay, in terms of how they will not be in the red, but be in the black, and our commitment to them within those 3-year parameters. So yeah, that's something I can hang my hat on. In addition, I served as a finance manager in Flint, Michigan. Within that role, I'm constantly looking for any kind of unusual fluctuation in terms of cost and expenditures, so that I can actually advise federal government, Department of Labor, and also our private corporation, Alutech, located in Alaska, Anchorage, Alaska, excuse me. And so I'm familiar in terms of looking at financial and budgetary information and figuring out what might be the best practice, or putting some best practice to the equation for the improvement of the budget.
And just to clarify, you have created a budget. You have created a city budget.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. The next question is, please describe your experience in the areas that I'm going to tell you. What is the extent of your experience of each of these areas, and did it cover, this is the worst question. What is the extent of your experience and did it cover the following? So please describe your experience in these areas. Supervision of staff.
Thank you.
It's
So
6 of them,
roughly
so
50.
I'm gonna be going from 6.
So roughly, I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm gonna be saying 8 of the areas. So first one is the supervision of staff.
Okay, so the first roughly 12 plus years experience, supervision of staff.
Okay. What's the amount of people, the most that you supervise and the least?
Sure. So to give you a fuller picture on that, I can actually go back to Saginaw Transit when I served as a deputy general manager, responsible for 137 FTEs, full-time employees, 56 PTs, part-time employees, of which consisted of 3 different bargaining units, did 2 collective bargaining, did multiple grievance practice. When I served for the census, I was directly responsible for over 23 direct managers and professional staff. So yeah, those are some of the parameters that I worked within. And then also serving as a township manager, responsible for 14 FTEs, full-time employees, and 3 part-time employees.
The next one is your experience with well, never mind the personnel, with labor relations.
Okay, so regarding labor relations, I have over 7+ years in labor relation. I started off my government career as an intern in labor relations department. So I do have a strong understanding of labor relations, did contracts for police and fire, did contracts for SEIU, did contracts for UAW. And I participate in terms of collectively as a team, developing collective bargaining agreements.
Next one is the grant application administration. Your experience with grant applications and the administration of them.
Okay, roughly 8+ years of grant experience, grant management. So from the development to the administration, to the sometimes changing of language in the grant application to fulfill the requirements, and the changes is coming based upon an approved document, whether it's coming from the state or federal. So I've been in a process to some amendments to grant procedures, and also the full or the totality of completing a grant.
Thank you. Next one's intergovernmental relations.
6+ years of intergovernment relations, worked across all capacity in terms of government. Many positions served and communicated with county commissioners, developed relationships with state assemblymen and women, reached across the board in aisle regarding legislative initiatives. So yeah, my intergovernment relationship is 6+ years and growing.
Public works.
Public works background is kind of recent. So we're looking at 2 years there and 4 years. So a total of 6 years of public work, working within the township. And also, when I say the township, the Royal Oak Township, and also Saginaw Transit Authority, working with our public work division. In those capacities, working directly with the director of operations, sometimes doing disciplinary actions, sometimes looking at how we can increase personnel and bumping people from being in union into management. So yeah, have extensive knowledge in terms of working with public works.
Information technology.
IT is something that I really don't have a stronghold on. I have the ins and outs in terms of understanding the basics, as in Excel, PowerPoint, presentations, delivery of various spreadsheets, financial spreadsheets. So in essence, when we talk about looking at applications as opposed to looking at hardware or software, application-wise, I have over 14 years application-wise using the various softwares. But in terms of digging, probing, for fixing, no.
Okay. Community engagement.
I've been doing community engagement for roughly 15 plus years. I've been doing community engagement ever since I was a teenager. I was doing peer development and going door to door, trying to recruit volunteers to assist us in that development. Working with focus groups. When I did my thesis, 2 different thesis statements, working with communities to see what do they want in terms of for a healthy library, was one of my theses. And so working with Southwest Solution, which is a nonprofit out of Southwest Detroit. I was the community development manager over that whole piece, and I was responsible for Virginia Park. And Virginia Park wanted me to be the next executive director over that area, but there was some litigation stuff that was hung up in the court, so they decided to allow that to become defunct before they actually entertain of reestablishing something. So community engagement has always been a framework in terms of, in all my capacities that I've grown.
And the last one is program development.
And so we'll say 4 years of program development. One program that I'm very happy to rest my hat on is a specialty program that we adopted out of Southwest Detroit, that we work with 36 district for Detroiters that actually don't have their driver's license, and we assist them to get their driver's license. Many of them issues are fines and penalties, and we have attorneys stationed throughout Metro Detroit and the city of Detroit to assist so they can walk them in and actually deal with the judge. We underwrite all that in terms of cost. We turn that over to each and every judge that's part of the specialty court, and we eradicate all those fines. And once again, we have people as ages of in their 70s stating that they never thought they'd get the driver's license. So we have personal testimonies on the record that we're very pleased and to speak about regarding program development. And this is something that the city of Detroit adopted. And so now it's underneath the city of Detroit's auspice in terms of leading.
Thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you.
Okay, so the city administrator position requires you to respond to many requests in a short period of time. How have you assured promptness, accuracy, and courtesy under these conditions? What have you done in the past in terms of techniques and systems and so forth to ensure effective communication and follow-up, both from you and from those working for you?
Absolutely. So my number one key in terms of any kind of communication, it needs to be timely. And what I mean by timely, information needs to come across my desk in terms of issues outstanding or things that's relevant that could be a harm to the council. So my priority base is focused on how can we generate or govern effectively. And so that goes back to the collaboration from my team and have my team to speak to me relevant in terms of what's happening, who needs some support, what is my community information flow right now. We're hearing that, for instance, the Ann Lutheran School, that we need to do some redevelopment there. What is the communication like? Is the citizens fully on board behind that? If so, they probably would like to know what are the next steps? Is that being clearly conveyed? So I believe that, clear communication at all times and keeping all levels of the team abreast. And so that means weekly meetings. What that means is, upon those weekly meetings, having an outline in terms of what are the needs assessment for residents, what are the needs assessment in terms of the administration team, what is the needs assessment in terms of what council is also hearing. So it's a collaboration, it's a partnership, so that we all can be on one page with one clear voice.
Thank you.
Please describe your experience in the area of economic development and share examples of projects or initiatives you were directly involved in this area.
Okay, thank you for the question. So in economic development, we have roughly 8+ years of economic and community development. Something that I love to hang my hat on is the transportation enhancement project. All that was new funding in terms of that 3.8 million coming from federal government, FTA, through the state to us. We put a proposal together. We had some bilateral support at that time. Both our senators supported, and we had all the House of Representatives support our initiative. We were moving towards a countywide initiative to be a countywide transit authority, as opposed to just a city authority. And with that 3.8, it helped us to bring about additional shelters so that residents wouldn't have to wait in Michigan's adverse climates. In addition, we put up new facade throughout the city. We designed a new location in terms of building a new headquarters, which is going to be on the outskirts of the city. And we shared with county commissioners in terms of the locations of each branch that we were planning on building in various other cities, towns, or villages, so that there could be an ease and transportation for those in the Saginaw County area. Also, in terms of economic development, I had the opportunity with, as a fellow, working directly in Virginia Park, working with the mini market in terms of resurfacing pavements. We also did a facade in terms of all along the side of the mini market to enhance its appearance. In addition, we put together a what we call a side lot acquisition program for those who kept the property value up along their sides, that we will walk them through the Detroit Land Bank so that they can actually purchase that side lot.
Thank you.
Please describe a major accomplishment you achieved in your current or most recent position. What did you accomplish? How specifically did you go about making this happen? What steps did you take?
So I will harp again on the my last position as township manager, and I'll continue to speak about the master plan. Without a master plan, there is no vision for the community. And so with this idea, this concept of master plan, we had the involvement in terms of the community, the business community. I facilitated focus groups, conversations with various adjacent communities, Ferndale, Oak Park, City of Detroit, and also Oakland County. We, at that particular time, reached out to a consulting agency, Carlisle Wharton, established a tremendous relationship, and actually brought on a gentleman to help us oversee the development and crafting of this particular master plan. I actually gave him all the verbiage and all the photos and all the communication from all the focus groups, from the SIP plan and Me and him both walked up to Oakland County together for different planning discussions with county commissioners regarding the master plan. In addition with working with Oakland County's public work, because we also had some funding out there that we wanted to do some repairs for streets and sidewalk, and also looking at sewer repairs. And all that was tied into the master plan. So it was the complete facilitation of that master plan to bring it to the approval level. Many steps, but we actually got that done within a 6-month period. And we actually had the gracing of the state of Michigan to underwrite this endeavor. And so they cover the cost in terms for the consultant, and they also cover the cost in terms of application process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, can you please provide an instance where you had a challenging or low performing employee? What was the issue and what specific steps did you take to help improve the employee's performance? The next latter part of the question, did the employee's performance increase after your actions? Please provide an example where employees strongly disagreed on the solution to an issue. And how did you specifically handle this situation and bring the group to a consensus?
Thank you for the question. That was a mouthful.
So
So,
I know.
how can I? So I have worked in different situations. Okay, where team members pretty much have different preference, different ideas, different point of views. So my understanding is that I work for and I look for inclusionary process. I try to be inclusive as possible. And what I mean by that is to support their work endeavor. And so if they have a different point of view in terms of how to get the work done, but it can still be effective, I would allow them, as long as that it still falls within the time parameter, that I can get it and that they can explain to me that it makes sense and that it approves of that inclusiveness, I can actually move forward. Now, there are other times in terms of, for instance, when I have a challenging individual that is not buying into the concept of teamwork, that I actually have to pull to the side and say, this is what we need moving forward. And if you're not willing to be a part of that particular approach, then we need to actually look at disciplinary actions, because at that particular time, I'm giving you some firm instructions in terms of what we need to get accomplished. And you may feel that you're in a position that you've been in a position for quite some time, but it's not about just that. It's about that and some. And so I need to have employees to understand what are the and some, and that's what needs to be clear when they understand what is the letter of the language of their contract or the agreement that they actually sign on. It states and some additional work. And so I need them to be a part as a team player on that whole concept. But some challenging situations, I had a situation where an employee was just grieved because we actually disciplinary in terms of removed from his position. So he came back, unfortunately, with an assault pistol, and he threatened numerous staff. And so police was called. Gentleman was arrested. We did press charge against this gentleman. But I have been in some of those difficult positions in making those calls. And it was just fortunate that no one got hurt in that whole dynamic.
Thank you.
Oftentimes, a city manager will have to deal with the media. Please provide us with an example of how you have effectively used the media in the past. What was the situation? How specifically did you interact with the media, and what forms that was in, like print, television, or radio?
Yeah.
And what was the result of this interaction?
Okay, thank you for the question, Madam Mayor. So I actually done quite a few interview processes. I would say I have roughly 4 years of that experience dealing with electronic print, um, 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 and radio. And so starting off with the partnership specialist, so I served in many capacities. As I indicated, I did television, radio, and email interviews, and did the full scope. So advising about the awareness piece, the educational awareness piece. I did a piece in terms of speaking about there be guests or visitors coming into your community and how to know that, identify what does a badge look like for point of clarity. Moving forward in terms of working at the transit agency, I did many things in terms of working with county commissioners, speaking with print news and also electronic. Thereafter meetings, speaking about what is our legislative initiative, if it didn't pass or if it did pass. Move forward, we can look at when I served as township manager, there were some issues in terms of illegal business happening, speaking with reporters in terms of what we're going to do about some of these illegal business, and to make sure that they are deemed illegal, and from that standpoint take necessary actions with who our partner agency was MSP, Michigan State Police, to come and shut them down. So I have done my share in terms of the electronic piece pertaining to news outlets on multi modems.
And then what goes with this question is social media has become both an important and sometimes controversial means of communication to a city's residents. Please provide an example of how you use social media in the past to effectively communicate with the city's residents, and how did it work out?
Yeah, so in terms of the township, Royal Oak Township, so we had some individuals that were putting out information that was not fully true. It wasn't fully vetted correctly. And so I will put a insert together and have it signed by supervisors, the council, and myself, as this is the printed document. And if you need additional document, the clerk's office will house that legal record for you to actually come and request a copy at a certain fee. So there are avenues that we actually approach from the township level in terms of dealing with the negative dynamic of social media. Now, on the positive side of social media, we also put out information regarding 4th of July information, festive information. We utilize Facebook's, Instagram to deliver, some of our positive message. But we always had a staff, whether it was an intern, to always look and see what's happening on social media for us.
Thank you.
Can you please describe your communication style in detail, and specifically how would you communicate and keep the mayor and city council informed?
Yes. So my management style is one that I think I alluded, that embraces openness and transparency. I value high work ethics, and I believe in a diversity of thought. That is the cornerstone in terms of who I am. I lead with character and build consensus. That's part of my DNA. I'm a collaborator at heart. I drawn to this opportunity because I see that it's a rewarding occasion to serve the community that needs my skills and expertise. And so I can speak, in addition, my strong business acumen and ability to lead with consistent optimum results make me an ideal fit for this opportunity.
Well, thank you very much. Yes.
Just wanted to ask one quick question from some of our residents and some of the council members that all ask the same thing. On your resume, the employment experience ends in May of 20. So have you been working since May of 20, or what's happened since then?
No, so unfortunately, COVID, due to the pandemic, had struck in my family real hard. So my focus was on family. I was traveling across the country, taking care of father, taking care of brother. I even lost a brother due to the pandemic. So the pandemic took a real deep dive in me, and I actually finally got my head to a point that I can focus on me and my family moving forward. And so when I said me and my family, I'm okay to share that my son was stricken real bad. He was on a ventilator, but he actually survived. And so that's been my centerpiece, is just focus on my family until we actually get to the point that I can move forward.
Makes sense. I'm sorry to hear about your brother.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for being able to join us and taking time out of your day. We'll give you 2 minutes just to give us some more information that you think that you haven't shared with us already, and then we'll close it out.
Well, thank you again to the council. Madam Mayor, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak before the City Council. As I said, I am a collaborator. I believe in partnership. I am a visionary leader, and I pivot towards outreach from all different sources. I've served in a lot of capacities in terms of nonprofits, in terms of for-profits, in terms of private and public. I have identified myself as a viable leader. I have been entrusted by fellow gatekeepers in multiple communities. I bring forth a wealth of insight, of networking, that I could help support the current city in terms of its continued direction. And so I feel that these opportunities that I bring will make for a healthier and viable city of Lathrop. I do know the parameters of Lathrop in terms of the location, how it's firmly fit within the city of Southfield. I have, friends that resides in the city of Lathrop that I can always turn to try to get more deeper history of the city of Lathrop Village. And so I just bring that skill set of being well-rounded, not just centered in government entity, but understand in terms of nonprofit entities, that understands about how the public-private partnership works, that understands in terms of the relationship with state government, federal government, and how it all ties in together. Because I've been on all these sides. And so I wish to bring that as a candidate, and I know we have talented candidates, and I believe that my particular case makes itself the ideal fit. And I thank you again.
Thank you, and you have a good evening, and I hope you really feel better.
Thank you so
100%.
much. Thank you so much. And so could you share what would be the next step in the process, please?
The council is going to deliberate, and I believe who's getting back? Oh, Joyce, I'm sorry. I couldn't even see. I'm sorry. Joyce will be getting back with you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Enjoy your evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.